Why are there not more people talking about the voicemail that can freeze your blood? Intrigued? You should be. Imagine receiving a message so chilling, so unexpected that it turns your world upside down in an instant. This is the story of Sarah, a mother who experienced just that. Sarah's phone buzzed with a new voicemail. It was a typical Tuesday afternoon, and she was in the middle of folding laundry when she heard the familiar sound. She picked up her phone, expecting a routine message. She frowned. Her phone never rang. It was odd. She had her phone with her the entire time, and it hadn't made a sound. How could she have missed the call? The message was from an unknown number. Her heart skipped a beat. Unknown numbers always made her uneasy, but she couldn't ignore it. What if it was important? Curious, she played it. The voice on the other end was unmistakable. "Mom, I'm in trouble. Please pick up." The words were hurried, filled with fear and desperation. The voice was her son's, shaky and panicked. Jason, her 10-year-old boy, who was supposed to be safe at school. Her stomach dropped and a cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Her mind raced with questions. What kind of trouble was he in? Why hadn't the school called her? She felt a wave of nausea as she tried to make sense of it all. Her son Jason was at school, or at least, he should have been. She glanced at the clock. It was only 2 p.m., well before school let out. Her fingers trembled as she dialed his number, but it went straight to voicemail. Panic set in. She tried again and again, but each time it was the same result. Frantic, she grabbed her keys and headed for the door. She had to get to the school to find out what was happening. Just as she reached for the handle, her phone buzzed again, another voicemail. Her heart pounded in her chest as she fumbled to unlock her phone. Another voicemail. She hesitated for a moment, fear gripping her. What if it was more bad news? "Mom, don't come looking for me. I made it home. I'm safe now." Relief washed over her, but it was quickly replaced by confusion. How could he be home? She had just checked his room that morning. She froze in place. The message didn't make sense. If he was home, why hadn't he come to her? Why leave a voicemail? Slowly, she turned back towards the hallway leading to Jason's room. Her mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. Could it be a prank? But Jason would never do something like that. There was no sound, no footsteps. The house was eerily quiet, amplifying her growing sense of dread. Suddenly, she heard a door creak upstairs. Her heart leapt into her throat. She knew every sound in this house, and that one was out of place. "Mom?" a voice whispered from Jason's room. It was faint, almost like a breath, but unmistakably Jason's voice. The same voice from the voicemail. Her legs felt like lead as she forced herself to move towards the staircase. With her heart pounding, Sarah edged closer to the staircase. Each step felt like an eternity. She clutched the banister, her knuckles white with tension. The phone buzzed again, a new voicemail. She hesitated but pressed play. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. That thing in the house isn't me. Chilling, isn't it? The words sent a shiver down her spine. What did it mean? What thing? She felt a cold dread settle over her. Was this some kind of sick joke? Or was there something more sinister at play? She had to know. She had to see for herself. Gathering every ounce of courage, she started up the stairs, her heart hammering in her chest. What would you do? Would you have the courage to face the unknown? To confront the fear that grips your heart? Sarah did. She had no choice. Her love for her son drove her forward, even as every instinct screamed at her to run. As she reached the top of the stairs, she saw Jason's door slightly ajar. The room beyond was dark, shadows dancing in the dim light. She took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The room was empty. No sign of Jason, but something felt off. The air was thick, almost suffocating. She could feel eyes on her, watching, waiting. She turned on the light, and the room was suddenly bathed in a harsh, artificial glow. Everything looked normal, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Then she saw it. In the corner of the room, a shadow moved. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there. Her breath caught in her throat as she stared at the spot. "Mom?" The voice came again, but this time it was different. It was distorted, unnatural. She felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the voice was coming from the shadow. She took a step back, her mind racing. What was happening? Was she losing her mind? She had to get out of there, but her legs wouldn't move. The shadow seemed to grow, to stretch towards her. She could feel its cold presence, its malevolent intent. She had to do something, anything, to protect herself and her son. In a moment of clarity, she grabbed her phone and dialed 911. Her voice was shaking as she tried to explain the situation, but she knew she had to stay strong. Help was on the way, but she had to hold on. She had to keep her son safe no matter what. She backed out of the room, never taking her eyes off the shadow. As she waited for the police to arrive, she could hear the shadow whispering, taunting her. It knew her fears, her deepest anxieties, and it used them against her. But she wouldn't give in. She was a mother, and she would do anything to protect her child. She stood her ground, her heart pounding, ready to face whatever came next. The police arrived just in time. They searched the house but found nothing. The shadow was gone, but the fear remained. Sarah knew that whatever it wasn't over. She held Jason close that night, vowing to protect him from whatever darkness lurked in their home. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew she would face it head on, with the strength and courage only a mother could muster. What would you do if you were in Sarah's shoes? Would you have the strength to face the unknown, to protect your loved ones at all costs? This is the story of a mother's love, a love that knows no bounds, a love that can conquer even the darkest of nightmares. The Missed Call, A Mother's Nightmare, a story that reminds us of the power of love and the courage it takes to face our deepest fears.